And welcome Lauren Holland, and congratulations on receiving the 2021 KBH Exemplary New Professional Award from the CPA Western School of Business.
Hi, Samantha. Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, no, thank you so much. We are looking forward to getting to know a bit more about you and your path to becoming this great award winner. We want to know, how did you get here? And absolutely recognize and celebrate, what future CPAs and current CPA candidates might see in their future. So first off, I want to know, why did you become a CPA?
My journey to becoming a CPA was a little unconventional. I actually originally studied psychology at the University College Dublin in Ireland. Initially, when I was choosing what I wanted to do with my career, people were a priority. I always knew that I wanted to work with people. And I guess at the time, I fell for that misconception that being an accountant meant that you worked alone and you were a little bit miserable. Like, I had the image of Angela from The Office in my head. And it was only after that I graduated and I took a year or two out of university that I went back to thinking, what do I actually want to do? And accounting became an option because I'd studied accounting in secondary school. I had done pretty well in it. And then I started learning more and more about the program and the opportunities that come out of becoming a CPA and pursuing that option. It sounded like something that I would be interested in. So I gave it a shot and here we are.
All right. And here we are realizing that you do deal with people. If you want a career where you don't have to deal with people, that's there too, hey?
That's true. There's lots of different variety.
Absolutely. All right. So I want to know a little bit more. So take me from when you decided you wanted to be a CPA and tell me a bit more about your path to becoming designated.
So I studied at UBC here in Vancouver. I did the DAP program. So was quite an accelerated program that you take at night. It's a really great program if you've decided that you want to become a CPA, because it basically serves as a very quick way to, be immersed in the programs, each accounting course that you need to take. And you're surrounded by people who have all finished a previous degree and have kind of taken a 180 maybe in some cases and decided that, okay, CPA is for me. So a lot of people are very focused. I started in January 2017 and I finished in April 2018. I think there's 14 prerequisite courses that are required before you can start the CPA program, and you plow through them. Some people can do it in 8 months if you're really dedicated. That was a little too intense for me. It's a really great program, and following the DAC program, I started working at BDO Canada here in Vancouver. I started in the audit and assurance department as a junior, and I'm still here now as a senior. And
fabulous.
Yeah, and then started courses each module and Capstone 1, Capstone 2, and I wrote my CFE in September 2020.
So when you finished the DAC program, and again, surrounded with like-minded people, when was it a part of your process that you decided you wanted to work with BDO and they felt similar?
First met people from BDO quite early into the DAP program. It was maybe 4 or 5 months. And I don't know how it works out east, but here there's a recruitment phase that happens with accounting firms, and you go through a series of interviews and everyone gets offers around the same time. So I went through Recruit in June 2017. And honestly, the people that I met from BDO, it was a very clear path for me, just from the connections that I built with the people that I met throughout Recruit. I liked the idea of working for a mid-sized firm as well, because we have that international presence that a big firm have, but also a smaller knit community. And I felt like starting in a group of 15 versus starting in a group of 80 was better suited to me and to my growth and development. So I really like that idea, and it's worked out pretty well.
Absolutely. I would say it's worked out in a number of ways, both that they supported you and you supported them and grew with them during your CPA studies. And now you are a senior and you are in the opportunity to give back. So, excel in your career while helping other people build in their career. People, people, people. All right. So what has surprised you most about the CPA program?
I found that the difference between the courses you take in university and the CPA program and content, the biggest difference was the need to apply communication skills and critical thinking to each case and fact pattern that you're given. Because in university, of course, you learn technical skills, but it's mostly focused on isolated problems. Whereas CPA program it's case-based, right? So you need to apply this technical knowledge that you learn to a specific set of circumstances. And for me, that was a new experience, something that was really beneficial because that ties quite well into what you do in your workday. To recognize who you're speaking to, what the needs of that person are, what they're actually asking you.
Completely. And I hear it from my students and from candidates entering the program as well, that they almost think okay, this is a graduate level program, so the material is going to get harder. And it's challenging. It's challenging, but it's because it's not necessarily just what you say, but it's also how do you say it, and using that filter, as you suggested, of who is my user, what is my role, and what is appropriate to communicate with this technical accounting.
Memorizing the handbook won't get you very far. It's a totally different way of studying and learning, and it's really just practicing more so than sitting down and learning something really complicated. Yeah. So I really like it. It's definitely a positive part of the CPA program.
Yes, absolutely. And it's almost, if more people know this, and hopefully they will from watching this video, it's kind of oh, okay, they can kind of be prepared, and maybe it's not as daunting because we all communicate every day, all day, every day. And when you say, okay, it's going to be practice communicating most of what you already know, refining what you know, and then really focusing on that application, it almost makes it more tangible because you're oh, it's just right there. It's just right there. And you get better and better with practice. That also parallels your career. So it's kind of like a win-win.
Yeah, 100%. And you kind of, I guess for me, you started as a junior in your job and you work your way up and you develop these skills of communicating and applying technical knowledge. And you're kind of doing that at the same time at the CPA program as you are with work. So you really, at the end of the 2 years or 3 years or however long, you really do grow quite a lot.
Now, just a little bit of a side question. I know for myself, when I went through, it was a lot, as much as it wasn't new technical per se, it was applying it. You're doing it while you're working oftentimes. And so you're balancing a little bit of a life, school, work, trying to make it all work. That I found I didn't myself, at least, realize the parallels and the amount of growth I was going through. So just a question to yourself, did you realize it when you were going through, or was it something that you kind of noticed later as it kind of came up throughout your professional life afterwards?
No, it 100% took a long time to hit me that I had grown or even learned anything, to be honest. Because like you say, you're so immersed in this program and you're so focused just getting through each module, trying to juggle your job, your family, your life. You don't have time to catch your breath and look at how far you've come along the way. I think when you sit down to write your CV, you're kind of hit with this, oh my God, I'm actually able to sit for 3 days.
I know things, yeah.
I know things. When did this happen? When you compare what you know at the end of the program to what you knew going in, they're 2 completely different worlds, right? And that's similar to your job. I find that you're starting new, very little, and there's a steep learning curve, whatever industry or public practice or job you're in. But then after a year, for me, it was when I went to train someone new starting, and they're working on something that I had worked on the previous year. And sometimes they're looking at my work, oh, don't look at that, just to notice that, oh, when I'm teaching someone, I actually know things. And it's times like that that you realize, but on a day-to-day, I didn't take it all in, I would say.
Good point. Studying for the CP, or like my equivalent UP, and like, oh, I know things, or oh, I see this, and you can start to, you know, see it all come together. And I can write a 3-day case. I can do this, and then little pockets here and there in my career afterwards, post CP, post UP. I was like, oh my gosh, I can solve these problems, and I started treating clients like users, and they loved it. And I thought, oh, I have stumbled upon a secret, when really it's a defined process. And as long as you know, buy in and do your best, you know, you're not special in the sense that it won't not work for you. Like, it's there. Like, you will learn and grow. Try not to.
That's very true.
Okay, so I want to know, Lauren, what advice would you have for somebody starting the CPA program?
So my advice would actually be to, of course, work hard. You should definitely work hard, but to give yourself credit for how far you've come at every point along the road, not just at the end, and to celebrate every mini milestone that you pass. Of course, really challenging and really rewarding, but it's such a great accomplishment to get through. I found the best way to get through is to, you know, celebrate little victories along the way.
So, for example, getting into the program, like, hey, you have your prereqs, like, celebrate that.
100%, or every module that you get through. Maybe it's just a bad week. And related to that, I would say reach out to your peers as well. They're your best resource, even just for keeping you sane. Because everyone's going through this same process together, and knowing that you're not alone, feeling stressed or like you can't do it. Like, you definitely can do it, but it's easy to feel overwhelmed sometimes, and just having someone beside you feeling the same thing, you can kind of talk yourself down a bit.
Yeah, completely. What advice would you have for somebody to find a peer group that perhaps is working in industry, or is working at a small firm and doesn't have you know, a bunch of other, like 7 other CPA candidates? Would you have any advice for them to find a peer?
I think CPAWSB offer programs to connect writers and people going through the PEP courses, correct?
Yes, I believe so as well. You know, discussion boards, you know, module workshops, virtual or in person. Yeah, and like you said, people will likely really want to connect because you're all in it together, and your peers are your greatest resources. So find a peer, and that's an opportunity to connect.
Yes, we all need to vent sometimes. But as well, the module workshops, they were good for connecting with other people from whether it's industry or public practice, hearing different stories and what everyone's going through.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of your background, regardless of where you're working, you're all in this similar challenge. And I don't know about you, but for myself, sometimes my friends or people that weren't familiar with the program outside of the program, it was hard to relate on a number of different aspects. So it's really great to have that peer group and to know that you're not alone.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, Lauren, what might we find you doing when you're not working for BDO in Vancouver?
You can normally find me outdoors. I moved to Vancouver about 7 years ago, and it was really the outdoor lifestyle that attracted me here and kept me here, knowing that you can go skiing in the winter, hiking in the summer. I like to run sometimes, mostly for sanity purposes, or bike rides. Yeah, keeping fit and keeping active, definitely my favorite things. I like to travel as well. Obviously, over the last 2 years, there hasn't been much of that, but hopefully in the future. I also volunteer with not-for-profit here in Vancouver in the downtown east side. It's called the Dugout Drop-In Society. And I volunteer on their finance committee. And what the Dugout do is they provide what's kind of in the name, a drop-in center. The idea is to provide a safe space to members of the community that they can go and spend time not feeling judged by the rest of society, that it's a safe space, essentially. which has been in the community for over 50 years and has provided that same service almost every day since.
And is that something that an organization that you got involved in during your CPA studies or after your CPA studies?
I got involved actually just after I wrote my CFE, and the opportunity presented itself just through a friend of mine who also volunteers on the board. And at the time, I really didn't think that I could really add much value, as I've just learned these things. I'm still very much finding my place. But it was one of those points where I realized that the value that being financially literate actually has, or being able to identify internal controls in a business or organization. Of course, I'm still learning, but it was a really good opportunity to show those things that I've learned.
Absolutely, to take the skill set that you developed and are still developing. We have continuing professional development as a part of our designation for a reason. We'll never stop learning, but it's great to be able to kind of use that skill set, continue to develop and do good with your CPA, add to your community, enhance your overall community and the well-being, and living a life of purpose with your CPA as one of the tools to help you do that and give back. Fabulous.